Sometimes you live through things that haunt you. Sometimes, no matter how many years go by, you can't seem to break free from a place or a memory. There is a place like that for me. When I was in the 6th grade, my family moved to a place in the sticks. It was a place called Falling Water. The drive-in was breathtaking. Watching the stream cascade down the rocks was the best part of going home. But there was always something off about that place. Our home was a trailer situated in the bottom of a mountain on a 17-acre field. The property was wonderful. It had all of the redneck things a young country kid would ever need. An old barn, a shed with a dog pen surrounding it, a creek with a fish pond, and old derelict vehicles strewn about. My brother and I would spend summers on that land, playing on a john boat in the pond, or getting tricked into snipe hunting by our stepfather. That night was horrible. We were marched out to the old barn on the edge of our property with only flashlights. Our uncle and stepfather made noises to scare us, and scare us it did. There were these large limestone piles in front of the property, big enough to jump a bike on. We were so far back from the main road, the cops didn't even want to drive up our driveway when we called. It was a cut in the side of a hill with a mountain spring and a pond, and we were way out there, just a trailer in the center, no one to hear a scream. Looking back on this period, my brother and myself have drawn several, uneasy conclusions. To be fair, I am not condemning anyone or saying this is for sure a real story. I can say the things I say are real, but I could also be wrong. Before I watch a witch hunt, I want that to be clear. But for anyone who can try to see the signs, the possibilities cannot be ruled out. The first thing we agreed upon were the barrels. They were large and blue and plastic of some kind. It was a thick plastic too. We found 2 of them behind the shed. They were stacked between the shed and the fence, facing a hedgerow behind the house. See, the shed was smaller than the barn and was locked, and a large dog pen surrounded it. We used to keep our pit bull, Gypsy, in there. We didn't open the shed for a long time, but we will get to that. Right now, I want to focus on the barrels. They were the kind Jeffrey Dahmer used to boil his victims' pieces in acid. Stacked behind a log shed, these guys just sat there in the elements. My brother and I couldn't move one of them. The other was light, as if empty, so we did what any kid would. We cut a square out of the belly to make a bushcraft boat. We used climbing rope and 5-gallon buckets as platoons. We even made a homemade paddle. The weird thing is, when we used this barrel as a boat, we didn't wash it. It had a strong chemical smell, and my brother and I both got serious chemical burns on our skin after setting sail. What could have been in that barrel that could cause our skin to burn? Some type of chemical? Maybe some kind of acidic residue? It bothers me to think about it. What if that plaything we laughed and sank in was some poor soul's tomb? The second thing my brother and I agree upon is the amount of derelict vehicles. We had 2 old Plymouth Dusters out by the barn. Early to mid-80s, I'd guess. Possibly earlier. A few Jeep Cherokees also sat gutted in the yard. It sounds bad and backwoods, but on 17 acres, it isn't as obviously white trash. These cars range from 1975 to 1995. Every one of them was gutted. Now our landlord owned a shop away from town where he fixed up cars, so we always figured those old cars were going to go to his shop one day. Why then were they gutted? No stereo, no carpets, no nothing. No signs of anyone ever being proud to buy that thing off the lot. They just sat there, like empty time capsules, like someone forgot to finish them. We played around, and I never really investigated them deep. The one time I climbed in the tan Jeep, I took a red wasp sting to the eyelid. I know what you're thinking. It is probably just my imagination running wild. It most likely is me seeing signs I want to see, rather than what it is. That is very likely. And to be honest, I hope it's the truth. It could just be a dark time in my childhood, and my brain is remembering things wrong. I hope all of that is true. But in my heart, I know I am not mistaken. The shed in the middle of the dog kennel. It was newer than the barn. Much newer, in fact. It had a master lock on the door. It was weathered, but nothing a gas-powered pressure washer couldn't fix. It is the shed we busted the lock on. Inside this shed were several road signs, caution signs, no parking signs, and even a stop sign. There were also milk crates of belongings. I mean, 8-tracks to cassette tapes, to CDs. Rod Stewart's greatest hits was among them, and clothing. From the 80s to the 2000s were men and women's shoes, jackets, and windbreakers. CDs and tapes, like things you would find in a car. There were also suitcases. Why would all this be locked in the shed, surrounded by a dog kennel, with big blue barrels out back? If these belongings were the landlord's, wouldn't he have taken them? Why leave them here? Why lock them away? Did those items belong to other people? Did those items come from those cars? Speaking to my brother recently about how this haunts me, he gave me some disturbing intel. Apparently, in the Falling Water area, Tennessee, in the 80s and 90s, were people who went missing. My brother also reminded me of the mounds and how the landlord wanted to build a house on them. The mounds were, as best as I could guess, limestone, chipped pieces, like many dump trucks, had come and gone, filling the prairie with sedimentary rock. Layers and layers filled mounds around 5 acres of property. I remember jumping on them and wishing I had a dirt bike. One summer, I set the entire area on fire. The grass on the limestone mounds was a dry grass, easy to flame with the slightest spark. I decided to do a bet with a buddy and set my bare ass on fire on an ant mound. The ending of the tale: don't do that. To get even with these bastards, I took a spray can of deodorant and a lighter and went biblical on this anthill. The dried grass went up faster than my mind could think. I had to pull my friend out and even wet the trees so they didn't light ablaze. Looking back, the mounds don't make any sense. I am not an architect, but why would a person want to build a house on top of a loose limestone? Why would you fill in an area with loose rocks to then build a foundation? Wouldn't dirt suffice? Why were there mounds and not a flat area? So we have the acidic plastic barrels behind the shed, the old, derelict, and stripped cars. We have the limestone mounds and all the belongings in the shed. It's far enough away for no one to hear you scream. And on a huge plot of land, all of these together form red flags. The part my brother mentioned, which bothers me the most, is that our stepfather was nice to this guy. The landlord, I mean. Our stepdad was an asshole, young and dumb and full of piss and fight. He never showed respect, especially to older men. Around this landlord, however, he was submissive. It was like he was scared or put off. However, it goes down. I keep having nightmares about this property. It almost feels as though I am being beckoned. I am unsure after all this time who lives there, or the property is even inhabited. I know I have to find out the truth, so I am going tonight. My wife will be fully pissed, but I have to bury this. Maybe I will expose a killer. Maybe the spirits of those taken need me to be their voice, to close their cold case once and for all. Maybe I just need to know if it is all in my head. If I don't come back, look to the mounds, or the shed, or the barrels. I'm stuffed away in there, somewhere.